Hey, this is Nick with Android Fan Network, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Candyshell grip for the HTC One. Now, before I get into the review, I'd like to mention that we are giving away an OtterBox commuter on our site, androidfannetwork.com. So if you'd like to enter to win that case, just head over there, and we have all the instructions and everything you need to know there. Now, with that out of the way, let's move on to the case. We are going to be reviewing today the Candyshell grip. So this case is very similar to the regular Candyshell. I actually have a regular Candyshell case sitting on my desk here. The only difference being that it has these rubber ridges on the back, and that's why it has the grip added to the end of the name. So there really isn't much in the packaging. There's some information on the back, but I don't see any information booklet or anything like that. So let's move on to the Candyshell grip itself. Alright, so it's semi-rigid. It's a hard shell case with a soft rubber interior. I believe they call this a dual layer case. Now obviously it's not a dual layer case like the OtterBox commuter where it has two separate layers that you can pull apart. But in the way they mean dual layer with this case is that it has a softer inner layer and then it has the hard shell on the outside. And again, the only difference from the regular Speck Candyshell is this grippy rubbery material on the outside, the ridges there. You can see that. Alright, let's stick my HTC One inside of it, and let's see what it looks like and see how it fits. Snaps on well, it fits on tight, it doesn't slide around in there. You don't have to worry about it scratching up your phone. Now even if it did slide around in there, it doesn't, but even if it did, it's a soft rubbery material, so it shouldn't scratch up your phone or wear it down in any way. Alright, let's start with the lip that the case provides. From what I see here, it's definitely above average. It's a lot taller than what you'd find on one of the slim fit cases that we've reviewed, but it's not as tall. I don't think it's as tall as the lip on the OtterBox commuter, but it's a decent above average lip. You don't have to worry about setting it on a table face down or when you drop it on a rocky surface. The lip is tall enough so that it should protect the screen. Now the only issue I do see with setting this face down is since this is all rubber around the lip, it effectively creates a seal around the front of the phone and the table or whatever surface you set it on. So when the speaker goes off or when you say your phone rings, it's going to muffle the sound for sure, since it basically creates a seal around the case and the table. Now this isn't a problem that's only on this Speck Candyshell. This is a problem that will be on the OtterBox commuter, pretty much any case that has a type of lip or rubbery lip that will create a seal. Now you can always just set it like this and the problem is solved. But then again, if you do just happen to set it face down, you don't have to worry about it getting scratched or anything like that. Moving on to the back of the phone, it has a large cutout for the camera and flash. And then we have a cutout right there for I would guess that's a mic for filming or when you record videos. And then we have the Speck branding here. Now going back to what I mentioned about it sealing off the front of the phone on the table there, since this has rubbery grippy material on the back, you can set it like this without worrying about scratching your phone too much. I had a Speck Candyshell on my iPhone 4 a couple of years back, and it was just the regular Speck Candyshell glossy outside. And if you set it on its back and you moved it around a bit, it would get scratched up pretty easily. But now that you have this case with the grippy material, you don't have to worry about it scratching the back of your case. It's sitting on the rubber ridges on the back there, and so it protects your case from being scratched. So that's an additional benefit of having these ridges. I believe Speck markets the ridges as being for grip, so you can grip the phone better if you're playing games or just really whenever you're holding the phone. But then another benefit is that when it slides around on a table or whatever surface, it won't scratch the case. It'll just run along these rubber ridges. Alright, let's take a look at the top of the phone. Here's the power button that doubles as an IR blaster, and the cutout is wide enough to fit a finger in there. It's kind of tall around the top here, but since it's cut down low in the back, you shouldn't have a problem getting your finger in there. You might have a problem if you're trying to go from the top like this with your other hand. It's really not much of a problem, it's just a little taller right there, or along the whole top of the phone. Now the cutout for the headphone jack. So it is similarly deep, but since it's cut out in the back there, if you have an L-shaped headphone jack or set of headphones, it shouldn't be a problem either. Moving on to the volume rocker side, the rubbery material that Speck used isn't too stiff. You can still feel the buttons through the rubbery covering. It's not an issue at all. The buttons still feel relatively clicky. Moving on to the bottom here, there's a cutout for the micro USB port. And it's not the widest or biggest cutout I've seen, but you shouldn't have a problem getting the standard micro USB cable in. And then we have a cutout for the primary mic and it's centered. You shouldn't have a problem there. Moving on to the left side, there isn't anything here, just smooth plastic and the ridges of the grippy design. So that's the Speck Candyshell grip for you. It's very similar to the regular Speck Candyshell, except for it has these rubber ridges. Really, that's the only difference, honestly, that I can see, is that it has these rubber ridges. And like I mentioned before, Speck markets this case as a case for people who want a better grip on their phone. But then the added benefit of having those ridges is that when you set it on the table, it won't scratch up the back of your phone. So overall, an excellent case. If you notice on the corners here, it has the plastic that extends into there, and that's for shock protection. It also allows the case to bend a little so you can get the phone in and out. So overall, this is an excellent case to get on your HTC One. Definitely offers a lot of protection, and it's still relatively slim. Now, one problem I could see with these grips is that it might stick to your pocket a bit. If you have a smaller pocket, this might get caught on the edges of the pocket on the material. But aside from that, this is a top-notch case here. It definitely will protect your phone from drops, bumps, pretty much anything like that. Now, if it's a really big drop, since it is a hard shell on the outside, it might crack. But again, I've had a Speck Candyshell on my iPhone 4 for years, and it was perfectly fine. I've dropped it, and it's really scratched up, but it's not cracked or broken in any way. And these ridges should help protect against scratches. So an excellent case for around the $20, $25 range. You definitely want to pick up a screen protector with it, but aside from that, it's perfect in every way. I don't see any incompatibilities over button covers or anything like that. Again, you can check out our OtterBox commuter giveaway at AndroidFanNetwork.com. And this is Nick with Android Fan Network.